Welcome to KangBros TV, the cricket section. So, one more day left in the Ashes, and it's most likely going to be 4-0 to the Aussies. I didn't expect anything more or less from the Ashes. This is the same old shit as far as I'm concerned. We played West Indies before. We beat them in the test matches, beat them in the one days, and now look at us. We go over to Australia, and we've literally once again embarrassed ourselves. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, what is your take on it? And like I said, I didn't expect anything more or less.
Yeah, listen, I think going into this series, a lot of people did think it would be actually a 5-0. So I don't know, at least it's not quite a 5-0. It's only saving grace, but I think all in all, we were outclassed on all fronts.
But for me, I want to ask you, right, is that England versus Australia is massive, yeah? Why are we going into this already preparing to lose? Why are we as fans? Like, this is the biggest thing in cricket.
Yeah, I did not. Listen, I wouldn't say we were preparing to lose. I think that's the wrong thing to say. But I think, and I'm sure people out there who are cricket fans and who have followed England and our progress and or / regression from the last series. I mean, yeah, we were going out there. We had the urn. It was shared or drawn last series. But I think in our heart of hearts, we knew that going to Australia is a whole different ball game. And I think the optimists within like the camps would have said, oh, we've got a chance. But I think realistically, I don't think we did really have a chance. I mean, they had, Stark was fit, firing, and coincidentally, out of the 5 test matches, Stark has not played in 1 test match. That's the one that we drew, and that's the one we got 240.
Yeah. So
now he's playing, and it's just literally just been blitzed. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a shame, really. I think it is embarrassing. We're literally even there. There's a few saving graces, a few shining lights that will come out of that tour, but on the whole, yeah, it seems like a bit of a mismatch, really.
So for me, the biggest thing, right, coming into this test match was the whole thing about Ben Stokes, right? The banger and that, yeah.
It's a good shot.
It was a good shot, but the thing is, right, would he have really made a difference?
I think I think the one thing that we were poor in doing was the preparation. I don't understand why before the test series. Before the Ashes, the team we've got over in England, yeah, and in the conditions that we know that England will dominate, yeah, they're playing the West Indies. Come on, man, come on now. For me, looking ahead, or if I was in charge of doing this, I'd have a relatively like a semi-competitive series here with someone who's going to give you a bit of a test, but they're not going to beat you, right? Yeah. I mean, you can pick whoever you want, but for me, the team that you should have been playing, what you should have been doing is going to New Zealand and playing New Zealand before you go to the Ashes. Have a series against New Zealand. Acclimatise. Pitches are different, don't get me wrong, but that's the closest you're going to get to England is New Zealand, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And you're going to get some good competition there. You might even lose that game, that series. I know what they want to do is, let's pump West Indies, let's score millions of runs, take loads of wickets, and go in there full of confidence. But would you rather have played a series where you've had a semi-tough series?
Yeah.
I still think England would beat New Zealand in New Zealand. The conditions suit English bowlers. It swings. The pitches are quite hard. Batters know how to play swinging ball. I think England would win that. But the time differences, you acclimatise to the time zones.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. And then you can go into the Ashes knowing that, right, okay, we've had a serious workout. Even if you lose against New Zealand, yeah, the media will be like, oh my God, they've lost. But as players, you're ready to go. I think Ben Stokes' incident was a big thing because he was a big part going into the series. Then all of a sudden you've got another bowler and another batter. He's a genuine all-rounder, arguably the best all-rounder in the world. You've got another all-rounder. As Joe Root, as a young captain, I would have thought as soon as he found out that Ben Stokes wasn't going to be there, I think that literally damages all plans. So I think it does make a big difference in unsettling us. Would we have won this if the Ashes if he played? I'm not saying that. But we would have been a hell of a lot more competitive if he played.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think he would have made a huge difference. The whole media took that thing to a whole new level.
My only argument would be is that if it's a police matter,
yeah,
and he's still free to do what he wants to do, as far as I'm concerned, he plays. That's So I mean, that's something I don't know. Maybe someone could tell me and help me on this. But it was a case of the ECB said he can't play. Or because they want to do their own thing, or was it a case of police said he ain't playing? I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, if he goes to New Zealand and he played first class cricket in New Zealand. So as far as I'm concerned, he's eligible to play cricket. If he's eligible, he's good enough. He's one of our best players. He plays.
Yeah, they try to tread through too carefully, don't they, with all these topics? And for me, I'll agree with you. If he's eligible to play, let's play him, and then afterwards see what happens.
He's the best player. He is the best player.
But having said that, right, he's one player, okay, and we were still shit. Let's be honest. If I look at all the bowlers, all I can remember really is Anderson probably being the most, I'm gonna say consistent, but the best bowler that we've had in this series. So what happened to the rest of our bowlers? Is it strong enough? And what can we do? Why was it only Anderson? And what happened to Broad and the rest of the guys?
I think Broad. Listen, I hate doing this because I was also the guy that we had this conversation millions of times about Alastair Cook. People were saying, "Oh, you should be dropped, should be dropped." You can't be dropping Alastair Cook. You can't. He proved it. There were 2-3 series he went. Didn't get many runs. Then he got a big double 100, unbeaten 200. Yeah, granted. My point earlier was Stark didn't play. I get that. If Stark played, it probably might have been different. Who knows? But someone like him, he's an all-time great. He's overtaken people like Steve Waugh. I think he's the same. He's got in a club of people that scored 12,000 Test runs. That's like Sangakkara, Tendulkar. All these guys are big names.
He's overtaken Lara, didn't he?
Yeah, he overtook Lara, and that's saying something in itself. So
massive statement.
For me, I think he plays right. You can't you don't know what you got until it's gone, right? And that's the same thing we've got at the moment with Broad and Anderson. The difference between Broad and Anderson is Broad isn't taking wickets at the moment. He had one Test match where he done okay. Everyone was saying that the day-night Test match, that's going to be England. That's going to be England's Test match. Why? Well, you think their bowlers can't swing it? It's nuts. It's actually nuts. England have to make a decision on Broad. Now, for me, I think he played in this Test match because we didn't have any alternatives. Stephen Finn was injured. Mark Wood, they didn't think was ready. He's the only person that we've got that can bowl 90 mile an hour plus. You're looking at other seamers that have been. My biggest thing was, and this is, and again, I'm sure there's people that are county cricket fanatics like I am who would agree with me on this. There's 2 players that I think were bizarre, right? And now you took Jake Ball and you took a guy called Overton, Somerset lad. They took Overton and they took Ball, and also took Crane. Crane made his debut in the Ashes. That for me is just unbelievable. How are you going to let a young lad like that?
That's what baffled me. Going into this, like I said, this is probably one of the biggest games that everyone looks to. You know, as cricket fans, that's the biggest one. And to give someone the debut against that, for me, is a massive risk. And for them, I think if it pays off, they're going to get a lot of credit for it. But for me, it was one step too far.
One step too far, but that's a point. But the other thing I was going to talk about the seamers. You've taken Overton, who hasn't played cricket for England. You've taken him to the Ashes, right? Because he's a big, tall, strapping bowler. Now, why take Jake Ball? Jake Ball's played Test cricket. He's played international cricket. So if you've got him there as this big, bulky, hit the deck bowler, then there's no reason to take Overton, and vice versa. If you're going to take Overton, give him his debut. You're going to take him out. You're backing him to go. Why do we have first class cricket? As far as I'm concerned, the guy from Essex, Porter, I think they got promoted. They won the championship this year, and he was next level. Hit the deck, jagged it back in, nipped it away. Nice consistent action. He's proved it on the county scene, right? The problem we have is in England, and this is in my opinion, is that there's this big thing about you play county cricket, you do the first class scene, and then you go play Lions. You complete Lions. You play for England Lions, England A, whatever you call it, and then you get your chance in Test match cricket. Now, for me, that's okay saying, right, this guy's consistently doing it. This is the thing. Fine. If that's the case, then there's a guy called Jack Leach for Somerset. A couple of seasons with spinner. Now, left arm spinner, took shed loads of wickets when they won or something or got promoted. He was a leading wicket taker in the division. The guy didn't get looking. They talked about his action not being right, and action being right. Well, if that's the case, why are you going to bring that to someone's attention? Why not you pick him, let him bolt, and then let that come out? If he's got away with it the whole season, then why all of a sudden is it coming up now at the end of the season? He should have played. And the guy, as I said, the guy at Essex, hit the deck, young lad, big strapping bowler, hit the deck, jags it, nips it away. But yet they decided to pick Overton because he's this big lad who's going to hit the deck, and these Australian wickets are going to seam through. These wickets, they were not the typical Australian wickets. They weren't nipping through, passing nose. You had Hazelwood, who bowled 90 mile an hour, but the only thing he did, different to everybody else, is he's back of a length, and he just settled in and said, right, you won't score any runs from me, which allowed Lyon to bowl long spells, which allowed Stark to attack, Cummins to attack. 2 guys bowled 90 plus miles an hour. Attritional cricket. You got that lad from Essex, that Porter, he's been hitting the deck, and he's been asking questions, nicking people off. It wasn't bang it in short and try and blow people away, and that's why they picked Overton and Ball. I think the selection has to be really looked at. I mean, Crane actually played one Test match and has looked very good. Essentially, you could say in the next 2 or 3 Ashes series, he will be a standout bowler. But for me, why is he not playing against the West Indies in that series before?
But hasn't this been a problem for a long time in the selection? As far as I can remember, way back, is it still the same thing that are we picking the same people that we used to, or what is it? Why is it that the selectors are not picking these top bowlers from county cricket?
Well, they obviously don't believe in the county circuit. There's a big influx of Kolpak players all of a sudden. These South African players who want to put the Kolpaks and they want to play in England in the English game. Now they come in and go straight into the first teams, because that would suggest that the first class scene in South Africa is better than here. That's what you're saying, as far as I'm concerned. The other thing is, again, like I said, you take these players, they do well in county cricket, then they go into the England Lions system. They do the whole circuit around the Lions, and then they get their chance in the England team. Sometimes you've got to pick, if someone's bowling well and someone's in form,
they're confident.
You pick him. You pick him. You take that gamble. Australia done it with Warner. If you look at how he came onto the scene, he had a good T20. He's a good T20 player. Hadn't played much first class cricket, but the guy was in good form, and he was hitting the ball well, and he was something different, and not many people knew much about him. And now look at the guy. A bit of an anomaly. Ravi Ashwin, IPL, hadn't played much first class cricket, had a really good IPL series, and now look at him. Jadeja. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you've just got to think, okay, if this guy's bowling well, he's confident, let's pick him and let's play him, let's back him. You see it in England Football World Cup. There will be a wild card who's been in good form, and they pick him. At the moment, you could argue that looking at the Premiership, probably Lingard, he might be a wild card. He might not be surprised at everybody, but that's the kind of thing I'm saying. He's in form, playing well, scoring goals, boom, get him in. So that's my take on the whole system. It's too regimented. County cricket, second 11, first 11, complete first 11, Lions, England A. Get yourself into the T20s. Play some T20s, get some international experience, then we try you in the test matches. It's too regimented. That's why we're falling behind.
The other thing that stood out for me in this test match was that every time I would follow it and look and see what's happening, is that loads of the Australian batsmen were literally staying in, making shitloads of runs, century upon century, half centuries all everywhere. The only one standout innings I can remember from England is Cook. Okay, so what is it? Why is it that? Is it that our batsmen can't manage innings? Why are we in a situation where the Australian batsmen are literally grabbing them for fun, and we can't even get one person to stick?
I think. Firstly, I would never. I'm never going to sit here and say, oh yeah, it was. It's because England didn't do this or England didn't do this is the reason that we lost the Ashes. Australia were magnificent. I don't think if anyone can say anything other than that, I think they're probably sour grapes a little bit. I think Australia have been preparing for this series for those last few years. This has been the forefront of their mind. They were when the earn isn't in Australia, you can see it really hurts them. The difference is, if you look at the batting lineups, and to be honest, my optimistic side of me said, I don't think there's much in it before the series started, because I wanted to be optimistic. I think my heart told me England are going to lose. They're probably going to get pummeled. But my head kept telling me Joe Root, England's golden boy, v Stephen Smith. I thought they would level themselves out. I thought he would have a good series, and so would Root. And I thought Cook was going to have a good series, and I thought Warner was the other guy. And I thought you match them two. We've got a very average. The rest of them are bang average. Look at Khawaja. He didn't really fear me. I thought I looked at the card the Marsh brothers. The Marsh brothers. I've seen Sean Marsh play for a number of years. Look very pretty on the eye. I don't think he's capable of getting big hundreds. I think Johnny Bairstow is a better keeper, batsman keeper than Tim Payne. I think Tim Payne's probably a better wicket keeper, but he was playing against me a year ago in league cricket in England, and now he's in the Ashes. Johnny Bairstow would not be playing club cricket in the down south. It wouldn't be happening. So I think the difference being that the Australian batsmen were not put under any consistent pressure. Our England bowlers, Chris Woakes bowled too many full balls or too many short balls, which releases pressure. Our spinner was not able to bowl long spells like Lyon has, because our batsmen have played this attacking brand of cricket. And it's a catch-22, because everyone loves it when England go and score 300 and 350, 400 in 2 days. Everyone loves that when Moeen Ali comes in and flaying his bat and all these lovely shots. But the Aussie batsmen had a game plan. They knew that these guys in these conditions, when the ball stops swinging, it's not a Duke's ball, it's a Kookaburra ball. It stops swinging, it becomes flat. We ain't got the bowlers that are ready to hit that area consistently. Australia had that. They were ready to sit in if they had to, but England didn't put them under any consistent pressure for long periods of time. The England batsmen, we love playing shots. We like being aggressive. That's the brand of cricket we want to play. And yeah, it's brilliant when it comes off and you beat West Indies or you beat Sri Lanka at home, and everyone's like, oh, it's brilliant. You know, oh, Moeen Ali comes in and boof. You know, Bairstow comes in, bang. You know, oh, Joe Root. They were not prepared to play an attritional form of cricket, and Australia were. Their bowlers were happy to sit in and bowl maiden after maiden after maiden with someone able to attack. Then it was Hazelwood and Lyon were happy to be the guys that just bowled overs and sat in, didn't let England get away, and England just weren't prepared to bat long. It wasn't a case that we were completely played off the park in every session. We lost sessions that lost us the Test match. So it was give and take, nip and tuck. Yeah. Boom, we lost a session. That session turns a Test match. We lose a Test match, and that's Test cricket. So England just they were not prepared to play attritional cricket, and Australia were. And Smith was obviously loads better than Root, I think, I think everybody saw that, right? So what needs to change as soon as possible? What needs to change immediately? Because what we got next, right? I think we've got a Test match with New Zealand. I think it's at New Zealand, and I think we've got Pakistan after that coming here. So what needs to change immediately for you? I mean, otherwise it's going to be the same story, like I said right at the beginning, is that we play very well in England, right? But as soon as we go abroad, the same as India, right? We know that the same with India when they go overseas, right? They can't play the same level of cricket, right? And they can't get the same results. So what needs to change immediately? Because we can't continue losing like we did in the. But I'm telling you now, right? You look at the two series that you've just said.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it goes back to the point I made earlier. England are now going to New Zealand to play a Test series. The conditions that are probably going to mirror England, better than any other conditions ever, bar probably South Africa. Probably got a bit more zip in a wicket. So they're going to go to New Zealand, and I expect them to win that. I fully expect them to win that series because Broad's going to have his tail up because all of a sudden these batsmen aren't quite as good. It's got a bit more swing in the pitch. Anderson's going to be nicking people off. Yeah. Anderson's a world class operator, and I've always had my things about him saying he can't bowl in India, he can't bowl in Australia. Wind doesn't swing. Change that completely. He's a legend, and he's going to go down as an all-time great, right? Just like Alastair Cook is an all-time great. Broad, I don't think he's going to go down as an all-time great. That's my opinion. People might disagree with me. For me, he's not an all-time great. He has spells where he is unplayable, but I think Doug Bracewell for New Zealand has a spell that makes it look like he's Viv Richards. He'll get Viv Richards out. Do you know what I mean? That's the sort of he's that good in a spell. For me, we'll go to England. England will go to New Zealand, playing on swinging conditions, nice hard deck. And they'll rack up big scores and they'll bowl New Zealand out. And then everyone will be like, it paves over the cracks. They come home to play Pakistan. No disrespect to Pakistan. But Pakistan playing in England, sorry, mate. Yeah. You really think they're going to be able to deal with a swinging ball? I think that will be the first series back. So the pitches will be green. There'll be swing in the air. Pakistan can't play the swinging ball. They're good. Pakistan are a good side. They're a team that's really improving. But do I think they're going to be able to compete? Do I think many teams can come to England and compete? I don't think they can. There's a handful of teams that can compete. So for me, you say what's got to change. I don't think you're going to see much change now because these next two series will allow us to pave over the cracks, and then some people are so fickle they're going to be like, oh well, maybe it was just a one-off. It's not one-off. There needs to be changes. You need to start believing in the county system.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, because otherwise it's going to be the same old story over and over again. Like you said, I agree with you. Right, we're going to get those results most likely. So you're saying what is that really start to believing in the county? You've
got to start believing in the county system.
And do you see it realistically happening?
No, I don't. So for someone who's been in the system, I don't get me wrong. When I say that, I'm not saying I was going to play for England or anything like that. But having played minor counties, you played against twos teams, and you've played against the UCCEs and stuff. When you're in that system, you realise that you're so far off of it because we're so regimented. There's been people that a guy that plays. There's a couple of guys that play. One guy that I know that was a teammate of mine for Berkshire racked up runs in the last couple of seasons. He was a pro as a bowler years ago. Got released with injuries, remelded himself as a batter, and he scores shed loads of runs for Berkshire over the last couple of years. Brilliant player. But in his heart, in his mind, he knows he's not going to play because he's going to have to go through that whole rigmarole of when come play in the twos again. Now go and score 100 upon 100 in the twos. Get yourself a chance to get in the first team squad, and then once you're in this first team squad, score millions of hundreds there. Then it might get looked at. It's just too regimented. It's too regimented. If you've got first class system, you've got people that are playing well. You've got to be willing to throw them in. You've got to be right. Okay, we've got Pakistan at home. like you're talking about, that's a prime example. That the lad from Essex, if he starts the season and nicks off 5 or 6 people, are you going to be brave enough or bold enough to say, right, okay, we picked Overton, who actually bowled quite well in Australia until he got injured. He actually showed a lot of heart. Okay, now we're going to drop him now because we're playing in England and it's not going to suit him. So we're going to play Porter and we're going to see how he gets on. There's no difference between, if you're going to pick Overton out there and he done okay, now he should retain his spot if he's done okay. I think he has. People can agree with me, disagree with me. James Vince got picked in this squad. I like James Vince because they said he can play the bouncing ball and he can get on top of the ball and things like that. Now, you picked him after not picking him for England for quite a while because he couldn't play. He struggled over here when it was swinging a bit or whatnot. But yet you think he's good enough to play in Australia. Let's wake up and smell the coffee. Do you know what I mean? Essex won the championship, right? Wesley, they picked Wesley for a few series and they said, oh, he's going to struggle. He's not been great. He's not really taking his chance. But yet they've picked Vince, who had been in worse form, and Essex have won the championship and Wesley played for them. There's very bizarre picks. So it would be very interesting to see who gets picked. Gary Balance went with England to the Ashes series, didn't pick up the bat once. Didn't pick up a bat.
Yeah.
So I think that the selectors have to start being a bit braver and start looking at the likes of in India. Look how India have reformed their team. They've probably got 2 first 11s they've got, and they would beat that 2 first 11s would probably beat or compete with in England. Both of those teams would compete with England. I think that India's second 11, it's difficult to say that because in India they probably would, but India's second 11 that they could pick would probably beat England in India. I don't know if that's to do with the conditions or the players, but that's how strong they are. At the moment, I don't think we can say a second string England 11 probably beats India here. I don't think that happens. Mm-hmm. So, it's just, I guess the selectors have to be a bit braver. If you've got a county system, if you've got all this belief in your county system, you've got to start picking players who are playing well in county cricket and stop being so regimented and safe. Is my outlook on it.
Well, that's our opinion, and we'll see if it changes. I mean, everybody out there who's watching and listening, I mean, let us know your views on this, right? What do you think needs to change? Is this a result that you expected, just like we did? And other things that we've mentioned here that you think you are totally wrong. We should be looking at focusing on other things in this whole series that's gone. So get back to us and let us know what you think. Peace.